Hello and welcome to this video overview on author's purpose, main idea, supporting details, and summarizing. Author's purpose defined. An author's purpose is his or her reason for or intent in writing. An author's purpose may be to amuse the reader, to persuade the reader, to inform the reader, or to satirize a condition. This is important. While it may seem like some pieces of literature have no point, usually the author really has a reason for writing it. In fiction, readers often understand this message as the theme. So why should I care about author's purpose? The ability to figure out exactly why authors write and not accept every opinion as fact is a key skill. When you read, you will need to figure out an author's purpose, identify possible bias, and then draw your own conclusions. So what is bias anyway? It's favoring one side, position, or belief, being partial or prejudiced. Author's purpose can be broken into 3 different categories. It's as easy as pie. To persuade is to convince the reader of a certain viewpoint. To inform is to teach or give information to the reader, and to entertain is to hold the attention of the reader through enjoyment. Writing to persuade. Examples include speeches, articles, essays, ads, or resumes. Writing to inform is more expository. Examples include news articles, textbooks, recipes, directions, etc. Writing to entertain, examples include poetry, stories, blogs, scripts, etc. Many works that are meant to be entertainment also may teach a moral lesson. Did you know that these categories can be broken down into subcategories to describe and to explain? Did you know that some texts do more than just one, and sometimes an author's reason for writing can be complicated? Some questions to ask yourself when trying to determine an author's purpose. Why did the author write this piece? How did it make you feel while you were reading it? Has the purpose changed during the text, or has it remained the same? Main idea and supporting details. The main idea is what a passage is mostly about. When looking for the main idea, check the first paragraph first. Sometimes the main idea can be stated anywhere in the passage. It is not always clear nor easy to find. But in the first paragraph, sometimes you might find a thesis statement, or at least you can find the topic. And if you can find the topic, then you're one step closer to identifying the main idea. Sometimes you will have to reread the passage and go back to it a few times to figure out the main idea. Use your close reading strategies to help you with this. Topic versus main idea. They're not the same thing. The topic of a paragraph or text is a general subject. It can be stated in 1 or 2 words. The main idea of a paragraph or text is the main point the author is trying to make. It can be stated in a complete sentence. The title of a book, chapter, article, and so on can give you an indication of the topic. Once you know the topic, ask yourself, what about this topic? That's the main idea, whatever the passage is mostly about. Supporting details are facts, details are examples that support, clarify, and back up the main idea. Identifying the main idea is a lot like getting to the candy or gum center of the lollipop. Readers must go through a lot of delicious and interesting details to get to the center of the lollipop, or to the most important part of the story, which is the main idea. Take a look at this example. Not only is smoking cigarettes a disgusting and smelly habit, it is extremely bad for your health. It has been proven to cause cancer, lung disease, and heart disease, and to weaken your immune system. Smoking makes it a lot harder to breathe, which means it's more difficult to play sports and get the exercise you need to stay healthy. It is also harmful for those hanging around a smoker because they breathe the smoky air. Even though most people are aware of how bad smoking is for them, more than 1,000 people die each day from its effects. Can you identify the topic? What about the main idea? What is this passage mostly about? So here the topic is smoking. So what about smoking? Smoking is bad for your health. Look at some of the supporting details that help to back up this main idea. Also consider the author's purpose. Was it to persuade, to inform, or to entertain? if you look at the details and if you look at the first sentence, you find out that not only is smoking cigarettes a disgusting and smelly habit, which definitely shows opinion and bias, it's extremely bad for your health. To go and support this bias or opinion, the author uses a lot of supporting details. Some of them are facts, some of them are additional opinions. By the way, sometimes the main idea will be stated at the start of the passage or within the first paragraph or sentences or two. Not always, but sometimes. Let's pretend we are reading an article about how cheetahs can run at very high speeds. Consider what the topic could be. What about the main idea? So if the topic is cheetahs, what is the passage mostly about? The cheetahs run fast. The supporting details will help you to better understand the main idea. Take a look at some of these supporting details. Light body weight for maximum speed, a cheetah's small aerodynamic head, the flexible spine for long strides, long, flat tail for high-speed cornering. Consider also the author's purpose. The author's purpose can help you to understand the main idea as well. Is this one to persuade, to inform, or to entertain? This one is definitely to inform. We know that cheetahs run fast, and we can look at all of the facts and the examples that help us to understand that. So while facts might be a value word, and we can't really prove or disprove how fast exactly cheetahs run, looking at all of the evidence and all of the facts that support the idea certainly do lend us to understand that it's very informational about cheetahs and why they run fast. If you get stuck trying to find the main idea, it helps to ask yourself general questions about the passage. Is it about a person, an idea, a theory, or an event? Once you can find the topic, ask yourself, what about this topic? That's going to give you the main idea. Another trick, pretend someone asks you, what is that passage about? If you can answer that question in one sentence, you probably have the main idea. Look at the supporting details. See if you're right. Do they support, explain, or back up the main idea that you've identified? For example, say that you can't figure out what the main idea is for an article that you're reading in class. So ask yourself, well, what's it about? If you can identify the topic, for example, hurricanes, then ask yourself, what about hurricanes? Look at the supporting details. They're destructive, they cause a lot of damage. Oh, well, there you go. That's your main idea. Supporting details. Sometimes the author does not state the main idea directly, so we use the supporting details to come to a conclusion about the main idea. Remember, each passage you read, whether it is 5 sentences or 500 pages, has a main idea. When you're looking for the main idea, ask yourself, why did the author write this passage? What is the author's purpose? What is the point he or she is trying to make? Can you identify any bias? What is the passage mostly about? After reading the passage, what did I realize? Once you have found the main idea, check it against the passage. The sentences in the passage should support, describe, or explain this idea. These sentences are supporting details. They are used to make the author's main idea stronger. If the sentences do not support the main idea, then you have the wrong main idea. Look over the sentences again and see what point or idea they are trying to explain. Some tips and tricks. It is useful to first determine the author's purpose for writing, to entertain, persuade, inform or explain, or describe. Remember, it's all about pie. Graphic organizers can help you visually organize the information in a passage as well. You can often find these online, but typically teachers have these handy as well. Let's review. The topic of a paragraph or text is the general subject. It can be stated in a word or phrase. The main idea of a paragraph or text is the main point the author is trying to make. It can be stated in a complete sentence. Supporting details will help you to better understand the main idea. Let's talk about summarizing. A summary will include the main idea and key details. So if you consider the main idea and any important details in a passage, what you want to do is put those together in a short, concise little package. Summarizing means get to the point. A summary is a much shorter version of a passage. It includes only the most important details or events in a passage. Summaries do not include every single detail from a passage. A short account of the main ideas and key details of the text. That's a summary. They do not include opinions, background knowledge, or personal information. So how to summarize? Read the text. Ask, what is this text about? Then put it all together. Rules for summarizing. It should be a complete sentence or two, not a word or two. It must cover the main point and key details, and it must be in your own words. So, should it go in my summary? Only main ideas and key details should go into a summary. Ask yourself, do I need this information to understand the text? If the answer is yes, put it in your own words in your summary. If the answer is no, leave it out of your summary. So don't go on and on and on. That does not belong in a summary. If somebody wants to get all of the intrinsic details within a text that you're summarizing, they can go read the whole thing themselves. You just want to provide the main idea and the very essential key details. Get to the point. This is just one summarizing strategy that can really help you, especially with stories. It's called Somebody Wanted But So Then. So identify who the main character is, what the character wanted, what the problem is, how the problem is solved, and the resolution of the story. This is often known as the SWBST strategy for summarizing. Let's take a look at this little fable together. A lion lay asleep in the forest, his great head resting on his paws. A timid little mouse came upon him unexpectedly, and in her fright and haste to get away, ran across the lion's nose. Roused from his nap, the lion laid his huge paw angrily on the tiny creature to kill her. "Spare me," begged the poor mouse. "Please let me go, and someday I will surely repay you." The lion was much amused to think that a mouse could ever help him, but he was generous and finally let the mouse go. Some days later, while stalking his prey in the forest, the lion was caught in the toils of a hunter's net. Unable to free himself, he filled the forest with his angry roaring. The mouse knew the voice and quickly found the lion struggling in the net. Running to one of the great ropes that bound him, she gnawed until it parted, and soon the lion was free. "You laughed when I said I would repay you," said the mouse. "Now you see that even a mouse can help a lion." So let's look at our graphic organizer here. Who is the somebody? Who's the main character? What did the main character want? What was the problem? How was the problem solved? And what was the resolution to the story? So who's the main character? So the lion is the main character. We meet him right in the exposition of our fable. And the lion wants to kill the mouse because she woke him up. But the mouse begged for her life, so how is the problem solved? He lets the mouse live. And then, when the lion was in trouble, the mouse saved him in return. So a little summary of our passage: a lion wanted to kill a mouse because he woke him, but the mouse begged for her life, so the lion let the mouse live. And then when the lion was in trouble, the mouse saved him in return. So the message that you can take away from the story is also known as the theme. So even if it's entertaining and you enjoyed it, there's still a moral lesson that we can take away. So let's recap. A summary is a short account of the main ideas and key details of the text. A summary does not include opinions, background knowledge, or personal information. Keep your summary short, a sentence or two, and use your own words. Practice always makes perfect. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is a practice. So it can be challenging sometimes to find the main idea, to find the supporting details, and then when summarizing, especially longer texts, it can be challenging to figure out what is essential to include in your summary. So the best way to learn how to do this most effectively is to continue to practice. And of course, depending on how you're feeling about the main idea, details, and summarizing an author's purpose, the more you'll want to practice. If your first impulse is to choose the thumbs down, then think about what confuses you and write that down so that you can work on building that skill. If you have a specific question, contact your teacher.